The traditional career is dead. The jobs that my grandparents, your grandparents, the people from the past had, they had this job, they stayed in one career forever. Those are gone. People are changing jobs on a very regular basis.
I'm sorry to interrupt here, but I thought of a question after I recorded this, and I wondered if you could tell me in the comments below what's a good job to you? What makes a good job to you? I'm curious to hear what everybody has to say about that. While you're at it, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, hit a like. That really helps me out.
You see, the way that it used to work for our grandparents, my great grandparents, is that it was important to have a good job. And people ask me what it is to have a good job. Now, what it used to mean is that you had a job that would pay you well, that you could go, you could clock in, do your 40 hours, clock out, and be done that week. And every day you'd put in your 8 hours, have your lunch break, and be on about your business. And you would go in, so you were in a factory, you would go and, you tighten that same nut every single day for your 8 hour period of time. And that's just what you did. And you were happy with that. And people were happy in their careers, just going to their job, their job that they had, and turning that nut every single day. And that was okay. But today that's changed. Most of us aren't happy living that way. Most of us want to have something that's different than what the careers in the past used to be. And you'll hear people talking about fulfilling work. You'll hear people talk about employee engagement, how engaged our employees every single day. And that's what people are looking for. It's more than just a paycheck. They want growth. They want fulfillment. They want something different. Now, part of me thinks we're trying to get something out of our jobs that jobs weren't made to be. You don't necessarily need fulfillment from your job. There are other ways to get fulfillment. And Gen Z is actually starting to tap into this a little bit. When you hear Gen Z talk about these lazy girl jobs, I posted something about lazy girl jobs and it just blew up. People did not like my opinion on it. When they talk about doing these things, what they're talking about is, I don't know that I'm getting ahead the way that you guys are saying I'm getting ahead. So I'm not willing to find my fulfillment through this work thing. I'm going to find my fulfillment through experiences and interactions and all these other things that could be a part of my life. And work is just going to be, it's going to be work. And it's just a part of my day. Each day that comes along, I do my work in order to progress and then do the things that bring me fulfillment in the end. Gen Z's tapping into something that our grandparents knew, that our parents and that our great grandparents even knew. And that's that work isn't necessarily made for fulfillment. Work is made for provision. Work is made to provide for us. Now, I kind of like getting fulfillment out of work too. So what I need from work is a little different. It's not just a paycheck. Now, part of this is I also want more provision. I want to continue growing in my capabilities. I want to grow in my income. I want to grow in all the ways that you can grow. And what I expect from a job now is I want a job to pay me in money, what they normally pay me in, but I also want a company to pay me in skill and experiences and know-how. I want some more. In fact, there's a book that was written by Reid Hoffman. It's called The Alliance. And this book was really interesting. What he talks about is the fact that it's a different world. This is a 10-year-old book, by the way, and people are just sort of adopting these philosophies even now. Reid Hoffman was the founder of LinkedIn, if you didn't know. So a pretty sharp dude, thinks about the world of work quite a bit. And what Reid said is that we're more like free agent on a ball team. We're all going to be on the same team for a period of time, and then we'll be traded, or we'll choose to be a free agent and go trade ourselves, and we'll go do the next thing. And that we will live in this series of moving from job to job to job to job. And he said that about a decade ago, and as luck would have it, he was exactly right. The average tenure in a job has continued to decrease over the last 10 years, and I would expect it to continue to do that even more. The other thing that we know of companies today is they don't treat employees the same way. Companies used to be places where you could go and spend your entire career. You could be there for 20 years. They would take care of you. If you weren't good in one role, they would move you to another role and you would stay there for a long time. There are a few companies that do that still today, but that's not normal. That's not the norm. Usually you'll see people move from company to company to company to company. I'm happy as a recruiter to see someone who's been at a job for a minimum of 2 years before they make a move just about each time. So 2 years is sort of where my line is. And if you stay more than 2 years, that's great. More power to you. I've stayed more than 2 years a few times in my career. And there are places where I've been very, very fulfilled, places where I really loved that company. I've even left a company and gone back to the same company twice, did that twice, and I loved it. It's a little bit different now than it used to be. Companies don't stick with you. Now, if things are going badly, if they need to find some funds to make their quarter financially, they may have a layoff. They're far more likely to have a layoff than they used to be. And it used to be that it was just forbidden to touch payroll when you needed to save some money. You would try to trim money in every other possible way. But now it feels like one of the first things that companies go to. It feels like that happens really, really quickly. In fact, payroll is the biggest expense for most companies. And it makes sense if they really need to find some savings to do that through the payroll. They get locked into contracts for a lot of their other pieces. If they need to make a move so that they can make a quarter's numbers, then payroll is the most straightforward way for them to do that. And they're doing it way more often. That's why we see so many layoffs. Now, we've seen a steep decline in layoffs this year. We're at a low in layoffs for the last several years in 2024. And I hope we get to continue that for a good long while. I think people are trying to figure out what's happening in the market these days. So I hope we get to continue that low in layoffs. So what do you do though? If there's no loyalty in companies and you're going to be changing jobs on a regular basis, what does that mean? Well, I think what that means is your job, working for the man, working for a company, that should be one stream of income. And I think all of us shouldn't put all of our eggs in one basket. I think all of us should have multiple ways that we can make money. We need to do that in order to reduce our own risk. We need to do that so that if someone needs to lay us off, if someone chooses to lay us off, if we get impacted in one of these actions, we have something to fall back on. Now you can have savings. That's one way to do it. But if you're in a really bad job market, like as a recruiter, it's a really tough job market right now for recruiters. There's lots of recruiters looking for jobs. And if I were laid off, I would have a hard time finding a job in a short amount of time. It would take me a good long while to find my next thing. So what I think I would have to do is make my savings stretch over a long period. And also I need income to be generated during that time. So what I do, because this happens to recruiters a lot, like recruiters get laid off. If you think about what's going to happen in a job market, we start slowing down in the economy. The very first thing that they do, if they know that they can't hire anyone, the very first thing that happens is recruiters and the recruiting team starts to get laid off. We know this. We know that this is the case. And we get hit by these cycles almost as badly as mortgage brokers when interest rates fluctuate. So we get hit with these cycles and we know that it's coming and we know how this works. I back myself up with a few different streams of income. Now, when I say streams of income, it sounds weird. Like I'm not like a YouTube. I'm not going to pull up in my Lambo. I'm not an incredibly wealthy person. I do okay, but I'm not. I don't have generational wealth or anything like that. What I do have is a couple of businesses, and I have a comic book store. You may see Superman right here. I'm a big comic book fan. I have a comic book store. It's a retail store. That's one business of mine. I've had for 4 or 5 years now. I invented a little thing, so I sell that actively. I have an Amazon business where I sell a private brand product that does well. And, ultimately, I think that could replace my income at some point as sales for that thing continues to grow. And I have some investments on the real estate side that hopefully will pay off and do some good things. So that's where I'm looking for streams of income. I have some that generate cash. The comic shop, a little bit of cash. If I really needed to, I could work there full time and generate some cash, I suppose. But the private label business does very, very well on the Amazon side. So there are some ways that I can generate cash. And I think it behooves all of us to do that. Like Do you go ahead and get registered and set up with Uber so that you can Uber every once in a while and have some extra income coming on the side? If nothing else, then building up your war chest. But I think that the traditional career in the end is not a single career. I think your job that you do every day for a company, I think that's one stream of income for you. I think that becomes not the thing that you depend on. Depending on any other person besides yourself, I think in this economy and the way that people are behaving today, I don't think it works. You can't trust someone else with your own livelihood. And I think you can use that as part of it. I love my job. I'm going to keep doing my job as long as I possibly can. It's an extraordinary job. I have a great time at it, and I get to do really good in what I think is important work within this company. And I can't do that. This is not the sort of work that I could do on my own without building some big, massive thing that honestly would take me out of doing the kind of work that I like doing today. So I'm going to continue doing that work. And I love it. I'm going to keep that up. But I'm also going to do the other things. And what I'll tell you is they're all things that I love. I do all things that I love. I own a comic book store. How cool is that? I love it. I also had this cool invention that I'm very proud of. And I have a whole business and people that are fans of it and that tell me all about it all the time. How cool is it? That's pretty great too. So any of these things could be expanded upon in order to become my main source of income, though they don't do that now. And I don't really give them that much time, but they're ready for me as soon as the time is right. And I think each of us needs to get there. There's lots of ways to make money. There didn't used to be. And if you start watching videos and things on one way to make money or another, all the others will find you. I promise you. Don't get sucked into the scams. Don't get sucked into everybody's course here and there. I still think the best way and the fastest way to make money, the fastest way to get a raise is to do it within your business, within the industry that you're in. And there's far more wealth within the country that's generated by people working in a company, doing a job and adding value and on a broad scale than there is in people running side hustles. So what I would encourage you to do if you're looking for a job, keep looking for a job. That's step number one. But there's nothing wrong with starting the side hustle as well. And I think side hustle is a little bit out of vogue or something. None of the things that I do require a significant amount of time from me to do this work, but it's all work that I love. It's all things that I enjoy doing. As you look for a job, I hope this opens up a whole variety of options for you. I hope it makes it okay to look at things that are not as traditional as what you're accustomed to doing. I hope it makes it feel okay to take a job that you don't think you're going to be in for your entire life. You don't have to. You can take a job that's going to pay your bills and maybe it'll be the right thing for you. You can take a job that doesn't necessarily give you all the fulfillment that you need, but you find fulfillment in other places. Like Gen Z is really, really apt to do right now. And I'm kind of impressed with that whole generation as a result of it. I think that you can do a lot of things that are different. You can start a new business. You can have a great idea and expand upon that idea. You can write a book. You can be in the knowledge business, right? So there's a whole knowledge economy out there, and online courses are becoming more and more popular. And honestly, I've had great luck with online courses. It's what helped me to get my invention out to market, is taking an online course where I guess it could have been a scam, but it turned out not to be. It turned out to be great. And there's a huge community of people who do what I'm doing right now that work with each other and help each other and participate. So what I can tell you is some of these online courses are pretty good, and they're made by people who actually have as a mission in their life to do something bigger and better and to help other people find their jobs. All that to say, as you look for the better thing, as you look for your next job, as you try to decide how you're going to grow in your career, know that it can be different than you ever conceived of it in the past. Know that your parents' picture of that career is going to be different than your picture of that career. Know that what brings you fulfillment doesn't necessarily have to be the job, but if it is the job, it can be in a very different way than is traditional. What you do with your day every single day is up to you. and you have options. You have a whole world of options that didn't exist for our great grandparents and for our grandparents and for our parents even. The online businesses are extraordinary and they've opened up all sorts of things for us. I really hope you find exactly the right thing for you. I hope you find a better thing.